everyone, this is Sunny, and today's part 2 for Saturn series. I will start with house 4, likely into house 5, and hopefully house 6. I think house 7 will be pushing it because I get tired easily, so I would just do 3 for sure and then leave that 7th house up to me whether I decide to or not. So again, thank y'all for watching. I think the Saturn series has been really interesting for me, and I love doing a lot analysis. My bad. And I think they're very informative for people that still want to learn more about astrology, but still want to kind of keep it simple, right? So the simple things are sometimes the easiest to understand, and that's why I'm hoping that my series of Saturn, will help you understand a little bit more on how that plays out in the houses, right? For example, so this is just some of it. I'm still gonna do more on the analysis part, but more or less this is my focus in this moment. So I will start with the house 4. So the karmic contracts you will be dealing with in the 4th house is having to do with building and maintaining a stable environment in your home. Having the presence of Saturn in the house of Cancer would create a distinct connection with the home, restrictions with having a home because of poverty or because people in power and authority, like your landlord or government workers, easily taking that away. Or possibly an earthquake, for example, like a natural disaster, can bring a lot of fear into a place where you should be feeling welcome. Being tired in your home can become a common factor because this is a place where organization and order is being asked of you by your parents or guardians more than likely, or anyone caring for you. You have to do chores around the house or fix up the house or care for the home by taking care of the lawn or caring for the plants and animals, producing a service that is to be consistent and a daily routine that may be placed on you, and not necessarily because you want to be doing it, right? It's something that Saturn instills in you. So you connect home with a strong sense of responsibility and structure. And this can also easily be seen with your parental figures as well. This house is ruled by Cancer, so if you have Saturn representing the father typically in here, you could have been cared more by the father or having to take care of the mother because Saturn inputs restrictions. So if there is any restrictions on the mother, as Cancer's the moon representing the mother figure, it's likely not an ideal scenario for you to feel nurtured. Rather, you were having to do the Saturnian task of nurturing the mother or parental figure at home because they were not capable for caring for themselves or you, so you stepped up to the plate pretty often. These situations likely hardened you and built a cold, rigid exterior in you to withstand all the troubles the home environment brought onto you. That emotion to be loving and affectionate didn't come naturally unless there was a task for you to do in exchange. So you might have felt stuck and lonely, possibly depressed at the outlook of your home environment, maybe because it was detached from experiencing the lack of growth and nurturing from your family. It was all business with them. Being provided for at the bare minimum with the roof over your head may not have been possibly for some, and this is a strong emotional neglect, especially from the mother or the mother's side or the mother's home country, right? So there's a lot of mother issues in this house when it comes to Saturn. For others, maternal figures would have triggered you because they tried to push their own rules onto you or their ideals, and you could have been completely grown up without that mother figure. So elder siblings or older people in the family raised you, but that usually meant that you would have clashed often, likely to do with the fact that they're not being able to be affectionate with you or showing any motivating words of encouragement. Icy, cold shoulders when you try to reach out, more or less, is what was brought onto you, right? So a strict household could have been likely how you grew up in. You could have been told something around the lines of, suck it up, buttercup, to to stop you from showing emotions and crying. I mean, I don't feel that way, but that's more or less more around the lines of the sentiments that might have been heard from yourself, right? Well, from your perspective, sorry. And if you did have a positive relationship with your mother or maternal figure, you could have cared for her as she was frequently weak and sick. Saturn placing restrictions on mother's health or dealing with chronically painful issues like endometriosis or hormones or knee issues are examples of how it can play out. A point to remember is that Saturn is slow, so it may take even take many years to to diagnose or pinpoint a super specific chronic issue, and that is why I brought up endo, which is short for endometriosis for those that don't relate to that word, where it can take females many years to diagnose it because doctors can dismiss it or downplay the concern that the person may be having with their female reproductive system, for example. So in this case, the person in the authority in this situation, acting like the Saturnian being, is the doctor delaying and obstructing, for example, right? So this is just one example. I could correlate that more to the sixth house, but you know, I'll get to that later. But that's an example for you, house 4, dealing with cancer issues, cancerian issues, my bad. So this is no way means every single person will be having to deal with this. I just like to show you examples of how this concept can be in a better depth, for example, just so I can guide you to a sense of direction. I would also like to point out that the relationship you could have seen between your parents was also Saturnian in nature, where they weren't so usually affectionate in front of you, at least that you could see, that they weren't very affectionate, or they were also very pragmatic or distant. This may carry over. Sorry, I have a super itchy nose. So I keep moving, sorry. This may also carry over to you as you age, where you have to possibly have the possibility of running your house similarly to them if you chose to not change, or going through dealing with the same issues over and over until you get the point across. In summary, the connection between your parents, or specifically mother, can be strained and difficult. That connection may also extend to anyone who took the role of authority and guardian in your life, your elder siblings, grandparents, or even aunts and uncles. Your karmic lesson is to learn that there is a strength in showing emotion and changing the dynamic at home by gaining that authority back and establishing your own new personal boundaries. Be fair and don't dictate harshly. Nurture yourself in a healthy manner by allowing yourself the space to be vulnerable. Sorry. For your also having to learn that creating that safe home environment, whether you go back to your roots and heal that home and family dynamic, or creating your own new physical home with your own kids and spouse, is going to be your lesson to learn in this lifetime. Remember that home is where the heart is, and Saturn will not take that loving environment away. It will just delay it and create obstacles to see how bad you really desire that strong foundation. So that's what I have for you, pal. Oh my god, I feel like I'm doing I feel like I'm reading tarot, so I apologize. I'm so used to saying that, but I will start with the 5th house now. So, okay, just let me take a sip of water before I start, because I don't want to have that dry throat, sorry. So, Saturn in the 5th house is the next one. So, if you have Saturn in the 5th or Saturn in Leo, your creativity, inner child, fun, excitement, and short-lived romances will be brought into question, as well as any desire to connect with kids. It is likely that some of you could have been responsible for taking care of children in your family while the adults had fun and partied away, and that left you with the mindset of, because it was forced upon me to care for them, I don't want to have kids willy-nilly. It's a chore, it's a responsibility, and you end up taking it very seriously as you mark the connection of children with fun, and that playful version of yourself is out the door. And prioritizing the care and responsibility of the child is in. So you struggle to realize that you can be fun and be a parent, and balancing that idea will be difficult because you would like to still be the parent you idealized in your head of having as a child, but didn't get to. So now you would like to take that role of a stable parent, but you're still being asked to have fun in your experience as a parental figure of a child in your care. So another reason can be because you had to care for kids, you find it burdensome to commit into having them because they dim your light and that joy that Leo, aka the sun, is trying to fight for against Saturn. If that's the case, Saturn is restricting that inner child and asking of you in your return to get in touch with that inner light that makes you shine, and that inquisitive childlike wonder that is trying to let me start on the next. It's trying to get out and play, and most importantly, wanting to experience fun. Creativity could have been stifled, and you have a very humbling opinion of your creativity because you weren't complimented enough, or you were told that your works of art were okay or meh. So they were plain and simple, and they weren't up to par to the individual tastes of those in authority, like your dad, as the son is a father figure, or anyone that's taking that role as a father guardian role, right? So you developed low confidence, you hid your skills, you hid your light for others to outshine you and no one to see. Likely in your return you could have been called on to work, quote unquote, on your creative outlets and skills to perfect, to show off and get proper recognition, to get you to be comfortable in this energy of creativity. However, it'll still feel like work for you, as you were never really pushed or encouraged to do tasks for fun. So you were you eventually know what starts off as something you work diligently on becomes fun as it becomes easier for you to work on and natural to express yourself. It's like the adult version of yourself learns to feel like a kid again because you learn how to play. You have your adult fun. And speaking of adult fun, let's talk about romance. So the deprivation of having many romances, or any at all, has Saturn to blame. So there you go. And Saturn makes the person be picky and choosy on dating because Saturn wants you to take dating seriously. Even though the house of the rising sun wants you to date with a light-hearted energy and youthful, right? So wanting to give in to the arms of a lover is what Leo wants, right? But here comes Saturn wanting to tell you that you have to date with the mentality of marrying or having to be in an extremely long relationship with someone rather than leaving it up to destiny. Another way this can play out is having developed feelings for someone you know closely, or build up that emotion of love over many years after interacting with this person, as Saturn also shows delays in feelings of a deep emotion because it wants to make sure that you're actually serious about this person. So when the individual finally wants to fess up about their feelings, it could be too late, wrong time, right person, or simply just not having the other party reciprocate those feelings anymore as they're not interested. Fear of rejection could have been a strong indicator and motivator why things can go south for this person who wants to confess, likely for the previous reasons mentioned, or avoiding to confess. To save face, Saturn wants to be stoic and more serious. And in the house of drama and romance, it can be a bit more into appearances and how you come across, right? You don't want to look like quote unquote a loser or just a weirdo, you know, like Saturn wants to not feel out of place. Sorry, I had to drink more water. Therefore, they keep to themselves and don't get to enjoy much dating experience until later when they mature with Saturn. Opening the heart space, the root of Leo, will be the obstacle for these placements. It'll be a challenge, but not forever. Creativity can also be an issue when you don't think you're good enough and want to only show off once you're perfected your skills enough for you to feel comfortable next to other talented people. So the bottom line for the 5th house Saturn placements is that you should allow yourself to be expressive of your talents as they can entertain the masses. Open up your heart and allow yourself to date without judging yourself, and allow yourself to experience love, you know? Your love interest, don't judge yourself harshly or your love interest because you have high standards that may not always be reasonable because you're very Saturnian in nature. Give birth to the creativity, projects, and children you wish to create. Fertility comes in many forms, not just childbirth. So, before I continue, if you do wish to have kids, that fertility process can be long or painful. It'll be successful, but it'll be many years for you to conceive likely, or you may have them at a much older age, past your 30s, as Saturn represents old age, because you have to prioritize certain elements of the fifth house, like creativity, for example, first before you want to have children. You want to get the right romance at the right time, according to that Saturnian energy. You still want to work with it. You don't want to completely dismiss it, but you want to work with it. But you want to work with it with a Leo twist. So allow those passions to flow, that inner child to glow, but most importantly, for that joy to grow. I'd like to add before I continue that to the next house that you could also deal with chronic heart issues or conditions in back, spinal problems, because these are themes related to Leo. Like you could have a nerve or a disc that was faulty or pinched, or you could have high cholesterol or heart arrhythmias because of a Leo lifestyle. And eating habits you could have. Be front and center. Your life will take center stage with this transit, so enjoy that fun, that love, that creativity, that romance, those children, your interaction with them as well. And shine bright like a what's that saying? Shine bright like a diamond. There you go. I took forever to say that, so that's what I have for you, 5th house. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will start with the 6th house. Sorry, I'm running out of air. I think you can tell already. So 6th house, I struggle saying that. The 6th house, oh my god. 6th house, Saturn, there you go. So the 6th house, oh my, I'm just gonna skip that. So Saturn in the 6th, I struggle to say the 6th, can present itself in incredibly analytical form. So the house of Virgo is another Mercury ruled sign, but this is more of a left side brain house. The 3rd house is more geared towards fun and communication, because that's also a mercurial house. This is more based on what you learn and wish to communicate based on what you researched and know. So being factual is very important to a strong 6th house. However, Saturn can bring delays or chronic problems in this house. Routine and establishing the lack thereof routine will be vital for Saturn to give you its long-term success. An earthy sign on an earthy sign house feels comfortable, but you need to continuously work on that relationship to not feel like the planet is overstaying their welcome on their friend's house, right? So let me take a sip of water. There you go. For instance, Virgo enjoys having the mental daily tasks that the individual has established as necessary to function. Things as simple as maybe brushing your teeth and then going to walk your pet might be a positive routine that Virgo can manage and complete to feel productive in their day. When Saturn enters the picture, Saturn wants this side of Mercury to continue to uphold its routine because it can cause issues with your mental health, like depression or anxiety, OCD disorders, food consumption disorders, IBS, weak stomach, or like acid reflux, to name a few examples on how this can like sorry, this can not represent, but like it can manifest, right? So these are chronic things that you can deal with in this house. Saturn gives you these chronic pains to continuously work on. You may link weak Mercury to this as well, right? So Saturn forces you to pay attention to your mental health, and physical health, and forces your mind to think and do research as Mercury wants to learn. So you acquire knowledge to solve issues arising in your daily life, like your health, your routines, for example. That's basically what Virgo loves doing. So it loves to problem solve. It usually manifests in dealing with others, like coworkers, colleagues, extended family, specifically the mother side of the family members. But this can also just be dealing with having to problem solve them for yourself. Maybe you were pretty hands-off most of your life, and on your Saturn return, you're forced to stand up for yourself, advocate for your needs, and solve your concerns because others may have done that for you before. Realizing that the physical body needs to be worked on so that all systems can function at its best capacity is also another scenario to deal with. Establishing a routine is what Saturn wants you to do. So more points to point out for this house. The connection between your pets is also necessary. So for you, house 6 with Saturn, I'm just gonna say Saturn in the 6th, sorry. So you could acquire a pet. Sometimes it's not always negative. Saturn also requires you to have that responsibility of owning a pet. Maybe it also helps with boosting your mental health. So during this transit, you could likely acquire them, or your pets could develop health issues, and you establish routines with them as well. It's not just based on you. This is a house of pets, and this is their health as well. So during this transit, they could be maybe more sick or more weak, lethargic, but they also require discipline. So in this house, you could be dealing with these factors, but again, it's for the bettering of your mental health as well, and your pet's health. But yeah, they could also be very similarly to you, be dealing with their own issues. So Saturn requires you to establish routines, take care of take them more to the vet, give them walks if they're obese. Saturn wants you to be disciplined, but it wants you to be communicating well with your pet as well. That's what you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn to communicate better with your pet. So that's important. And you could also be dealing with maybe the passing of a pet if it's already an elderly pet, because Saturn also represents older age, and maybe your pet is already older and it's their passing. So make that the best that you can, make them as comfortable as you can if that's the case, but that's not always the case. Again, these are just some scenarios and themes that you will be dealing with in regards to your pet. You can acquire one, you can deal with their health, and you can also deal with their passing. So that's some of them. Being useful is very important for you in this house. Feeling of use, because Virgo is someone that, the Virgo sign is someone that wants to continuously help others with their projects and they feel like they have their own projects like that because it helps them feel needed and wanted, because that was not always the case at some point. So they want you to really, Saturn specifically wants you to really get into the grind, right? So also getting back to work. Sorry, it's getting super hot right now. So getting to the work environment as well. Maybe you were not, some scenarios that can happen is that you're either put off work because of your health and you have to deal with that. So you were using your body to the point of no return. You were fatigued and exhausted, and now it's like you have to deal with your health. Another scenario can be that you can go back to work because you kind of feel this energy of like, I have to do something with my life. I have to do something, be useful and work. I want to get paid. I want to do these things, and I require money, and this is how I accumulate, right? So it wants you to get back. Sorry. It wants you to get back to work. And it'll help improve as well your mental health. I think your mental health is very strongly correlated to many of these themes in this house. Third house too, but specifically this house as well. And let's see, you would also feel a lot better after your Saturn transit. Not right away, it'll take some time to kind of build up that stamina, but you get the momentum and you start building upon that, and you start feeling better after the age of 30 and on, likely after the age of 35 and on, because Saturn is, remember, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. It's older age, but it'll be worth it. You might feel like an old person, but that's not what Saturn feels like. Making doable lists to accomplish is also very important. You can maybe not over analyze, but how would I say this in a better way? You can overdo it when it comes to making a lot of requirements for you to finish. Make reasonable requirements for you to finish, not impossible lists with high like judgment of yourself if you don't complete them. It's important that you have to finish them, so make them doable, make them non as restrictive, right? So you may have to deal with overcritical people as well, including yourself. And most of these people would be people in authority, people you deal with, older people, things like that, right? Mercury is kind of that sign where it can be females and males. So it can be both, but more than likely, most of these are Saturn, Saturnian in nature, older people. So I'll leave it at that. Possibly even from the mother side. Try not to nitpick everything. It can also be very detrimental to your health, and it can cause you your health issues, right? So for this house, hold on. For this house, you have to lower your stress by making lists and making doable routines for you, doable lists that you can accomplish, and build yourself up like that. Build better connections with coworkers, specifically older people in authority, so you have a very comfortable work environment if that's needed, as it can be triggering for you as well to have so much work and not being able to accomplish that, right? So remember, provide yourself doable things to work on your mental health, work on your pet's health, work on acquiring pets if it helps with your mental health, work on your physical body, establish more physical routines like walking in the park, running, walking your pet. You can also establish more, even though these are more related to the second house, maybe different eating habits, more routine habits. And you can also maybe take up vitamins or care more about exercising, right? Moving the body. Your body will thank you later once you get older, after the age of 30. So remember, these obstacles are just some obstacles that can be themes relating to this. I'm not specifically diagnosing anything, I'm just giving you examples. So just remember, these obstacles are meant to allow you to become a better version of yourself, as Saturn wants to really make you work for it. If you really want a goal and desire, you're gonna have to work for it, and it's not forever impossible, but just more or less like for now. Your transits will vary from person to person, but Saturn will just restrict you for just some time, so you get back into that motion of, I have to forcefully put my mind into my physical body so it can become a better working body to help others. You want to be useful. Virgo wants to be useful. So remember, getting that daily grind is going to help you a lot. So I hope that helped. That's what I have for you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I will start with the house 7, 8, 9 likely on the next video. So thank you all for listening and have a great day, and bye bye everybody.